Hi everybody, my name is Patricia Hughes and I work for Coldwell Banker. However, this is actually just for my own website and info here, and I just want to kind of try to take some time out of every week and maybe try to help some people who have some questions about things or just things you generally don't understand about what's going on in Florida right now as far as the housing market. So one of the big things that we have going on right now is we have a lot of issues. We have issues with insurances. The insurance companies are saying that there's too many claims in Florida, so therefore they are backing out, and the ones who have stayed have just raised the insurance rates to astronomical amounts. So therefore the government, as usual, gets involved in stuff. The problem when it comes to our government getting involved with things, a lot of times they were already involved in them, and that's why they're at the state they're in right now. So us as American citizens need to start being aware of what's going on in our country. And you know, we have all of these state regulated, local regulated, city regulated. We pay taxes for this, taxes for that. We have every kind of committee. We have every kind of board and everything. We have inspectors for almost everything that we do anymore. And yet things like what happened in Miami fall through the cracks. It falls through the cracks, people, because we do not hold our government accountable. And I don't care if you're Republican, Democratic, Independent, I don't care. That has nothing to do with it. It has to do with whoever is in office needs to be taking care of the people like you and me who pay those tax dollars. And the majority of the taxes are paid by those in the middle class. So they have passed a bill, and it's called the SB 2D, SB 4D. I can read all these numbers off. That really isn't the important thing. And they are now setting up after the Miami collapse and some other things with insurances and stuff, and expecting the different buildings and stuff, if you're 3 stories or above, to get certain inspections and so forth and so on. Totally understand that that was already being done to some form. The problem is they weren't enforcing what they were inspecting. They, you know, and so it's been going on for years and years and years. You know, the majority of property that is valuable here in Florida is waterfront property. Waterfront property was taken up back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So now we're looking at structures that are, you know, 50, 60, 70 years old. And of course they are going to have some issues, and they're not going to be up to code. Nobody's arguing that. We have a serious problem here, and it needs to be fixed. However, our government was running these programs all along, and they did not enforce some of this stuff, and it should have already been enforced. But now they're taking it on the people who own the properties now, and a lot of us, you know, had nothing to do with how these HOAs and different management companies are set up, and the regulations, and you know, whatever was grandfathered in, and a lot of us are on set incomes, especially a lot of the population here in Florida are seniors. Seniors are on a set income. So it's all great and good that now our government has decided now we're going to get really strict, and we're going to start having all these inspections, and places have got to be brought up to code. The problem is that costs a lot of money. It costs a lot of money, and you're going to enforce these things to be fixed by people who are on a set income, a whole lot of. Set incomes don't get a big raise, so therefore, you know, we already are dealing with in the recession that we have in the whole country, but on top of that, Florida is dealing with rising rent, rising everything, groceries, everything. Our taxes have really risen this past 2 years. You know, our insurance is astronomical right now in Florida. You cannot put all this on people and then turn around, just put a bunch of bills in place that, first of all, too much of our people that are in place doing the inspections, running these, managing all this stuff, are corrupt. They're corrupt. They could have already stepped in and done stuff about all of this before, but they always wait for a catastrophe to happen, like what happened in Miami. And now, oh, everybody's all scared and everybody, wants this. Well, let's start fixing the problem to begin with. If we have issues, let's deal with them. But the government, if they're going to implement all this, also needs to have a way to pay for it and help those people living in these communities. And it affects everybody across the United States, not just us Floridians. Because where do a lot of you all want to come vacation? So obviously, if we're paying these astronomical prices, not only for the property, but for our insurance and for everything else, and then we're going to have to start upgrading and getting our buildings up to code, all of this, it's going to be astronomical for individuals. And who's going to pay for that? If they're the big companies or the people who own property here and that are renting it out, they're going to have to charge more rent. And everybody's fussing. The rent's too high. The rent's too high. And why are you going up so much? Well, the rent's going up because everything here in Florida has gone up, and I can assure you our government's getting their share of those taxes if everything's going up. So, we need to hold them accountable. So, people, you need to start looking into what's getting passed in all these bills. Just like I do, there's all these bills that get passed, and then, they present a few little things on the docket of what it's about, and then they squeeze all these other things in the middle of it, and they sign off on it, and then us as a general population pay for it. But what I would like to do is see people get more involved, not just on Facebook and, doing your little post and griping and fussing and whatever. If you really have a serious problem and you want to get things done, you start getting involved, and you start making your senators, and you start making your House of Representatives and your governor and everybody be responsible, and our presidents be responsible for their own actions and what they pass out there. If they're passing these bills and stuff, they need to make sure that they also have something long-term plan to help those people that they're putting all these regulations in for. I've worked for a lot of different things in my lifetime. I've been a hairdresser, I've been a paramedic, I've worked in hospitals, I've worked in EMS, and all of these things are regulated. And you can ask anybody that works at any of them. It's all 99% of the time a big joke, because when you're getting inspected, what the regulations are, and they may ding you for something really tiny or minuscule, but something that's serious going on, they pretty much look over it and go the other way. It's really frustrating. We need to hold, if they're going to put all these regulations in, and they're going to put all these inspectors in, and they're going to put all this stuff in, the people making these decisions and okaying the permits and coming out and checking off on things and saying that everything's good, and then a few years later something happens, those people should be held accountable. Why are people no longer held accountable for their actions? If you have a job to do it. When I go to work, I do my job, and if I don't do it, I wouldn't get paid. So I don't understand why our government thinks they're any different. So people, please, what I want you to do is, especially if you live here in Florida, I want you to write your senators. I want you to write your congressmen. I want you to write the governor, the president. I don't care who you write, who you email. You're on your computer all the time. Let them know how you feel about things. Just flood them with the fact that we need help here in Florida for our insurance, and more than just to set up all of this last bill that they passed that, it all sounds good on paper, but all of this is going to cost billions of dollars. And it's going to trickle down, not only trickle down, it's going to windfall down on those of us who live here and have to pay for all of this stuff that's, when these buildings are not going to come up to code right now. I assure you a lot of them are not. And what the associations are having to do right now and raising the HOA fees to cover these astronomical insurance rates. People, right in. If you don't know, I'm going to give it to you right now. This is just for the people, the Tampa area. There is over 40 senators in the Senate, so I'm not going to give you all of those, but here's a number you can call. Call and complain, or call and brag, whichever one. I'm not telling you how to think. Think for yourself, read the bill, see what you think, but get involved. By the way, there's a Republican and a Democrat, because I don't know which one you are, and I'm not trying to be biased in any way. Our senator is Marco Rubio. Here's his information. All this, by the way, you can just Google and do, but I did it for you here just to make it simple. But people, flood their emails, flood their phones, whatever you got to do to get their attention and say, Florida needs a bailout. We are one of the #1 places that people want to come and visit and vacation to. If we can't afford the property here and it gets run down, are you going to want to come to a place that's run down and not taken care of? And are you going to want to pay these astronomical amounts to be able to come here and vacation? Because everything's so high, they are going to have to recoup the money somewhere, and that's going to come into the people who come here and vacation. And by the way, the majority of the people that will get listened to is those vacationing here, because you all spend more money than the people who live here. So you are who the government wants to hear. So even if you're not from Florida and you're a vacationer, call one of those numbers and complain, because you want to continue to come here and vacation. Get involved, people. Stay tuned. Next week I'll have another topic to talk about. Thank you.